And the audience is sitting there, waiting expectantly with something marvelous.
For decades, Betty White was America's darling, the golden girl with the innocent smile and heartwarming charm. But behind that sparkling persona was a woman far more complex than the public ever imagined. Now, years after her passing, her closest circle is breaking the silence. What they reveal isn't just surprising, it's shocking. Betty White, the queen of comedy, had a secret life of power plays, quiet feuds, and deeply personal regrets. From cutting off family to controlling her legacy with surgical precision, she wasn't just a performer, she was the mastermind behind the character of Betty White. What's your reaction to these shocking truths? Did you ever imagine Betty was hiding this much? Let us know in the comments, and stay with us as we uncover the real story that was hidden behind that legendary smile. Long before Betty White charmed America's living rooms, she was driving through the roughest neighborhoods of Santa Monica during World War II, with a .38 revolver in her glove compartment. At just 19, she wasn't a soldier on a battlefield, but she volunteered to serve by delivering supplies, cigarettes, and candy to military outposts, logging over 15,000 miles in dangerous conditions. She didn't just wear a uniform, she lived the grit. One night, when a drunken soldier harassed a younger volunteer, Betty physically stepped in and dragged him away. That quiet strength, rarely discussed publicly, defined her early years, long before the world saw her as the sweet Rose Nyland or the cheeky Sue and Nivens. It's almost unimaginable. The same woman who made us laugh in Golden Girls once risked her life navigating dark streets during wartime. That side of Betty, the fearless one, never left. She just wrapped it in a smile and let the cameras roll. Betty White was married 3 times, but love never stood in the way of her ambition. Her first marriage in 1945 to Dick Barker ended in just 6 months when she refused to live a quiet life on his chicken farm. Her second husband, Lane Allen, pressured her to quit acting and have children. Her answer? Divorce. Betty knew what she wanted, and motherhood wasn't part of the plan. Choosing her career over family wasn't just bold, it was controversial, especially in the 1940s. She paid the emotional price, especially with her stepdaughter Martha. Their strained relationship turned into decades of silence. Even when Martha reached out later in life, Betty shut the door, refusing to reconcile. She didn't forget, and she certainly didn't forgive. This cold resolve shocked even her closest friends. Betty wasn't just an actress who made tough choices, she was a woman who prioritized her vision above all else. While the world adored her grandmotherly charm behind the scenes, she was writing a different story, one of sacrifice, control, and boundaries that didn't bend for anyone. To the world, Betty White was the lovable face of comedy, always kind, always gracious. But behind that image was a woman who didn't wait for opportunity, she created it. In 1952, she became one of the first women in television to start her own production company. While others played their part, Betty wrote, produced, and starred, calling the shots from behind the scenes. She didn't just stand for equality, she fought for it strategically. In 1954, when Southern TV stations pressured her to remove black tap dancer Arthur Duncan from her show, Betty didn't flinch. She refused, and gave him even more airtime. "Live with it," she said. That wasn't just kindness. It was calculated defiance, and it cemented her power. Every award she won, every contract she signed, was another brick in the fortress she built. While others smiled for the camera, Betty was quietly negotiating creative control, pay equity, and long-term royalties. She mastered the art of being underestimated, and turned it into an empire of influence. Behind closed doors, Betty White had a reputation very few fans ever saw. Far from the soft-spoken sweetheart, she dominated her inner circle with sharp wit and unshakable control, especially during her legendary poker nights. One of her favorite games? Screw Thy Neighbor, a ruthless game where players trick each other into taking bad hands. Betty didn't just play, she ruled the table with a brass trophy and a fake penalty of $2,000 or death for anyone who forgot it. But her games weren't just on the table. Former friends, including actress Sally Struthers, described her as passive-aggressive, wielding sweet smiles like daggers. In one instance, Betty stopped a guest from eating a cookie by quietly saying, "You don't need that, dear." It wasn't a joke. It was power wrapped in politeness, a subtle way of asserting control. This pattern extended into her personal relationships and workplace dynamics. When someone disappointed her, Betty didn't argue, she erased them. Her boundaries were immovable. While others saw warmth, insiders knew Betty had rules, and crossing them meant exile. She didn't need to raise her voice. Her silence said enough. For years, fans believed the Golden Girls ended simply because B. Arthur wanted to move on. But those closest to the set say otherwise. Behind the scenes, tension was brewing, and Betty White was at the center of it. As her popularity soared, so did her influence, and her demands. She wanted producer credits, final say on scripts, and more screen time for Rose. What started as friendly rivalry turned into quiet war. Betty's habit of chatting with a live audience between takes, something B. Arthur considered unprofessional, only deepened the divide. Scripts grew weaker, the jokes more personal, and the atmosphere toxic. B wasn't just exhausted, she was fed up. The chemistry on screen was fading, and backstage, resentment was reaching a boiling point. When Season 7 wrapped, NBC had a choice: keep the show going without B, or let it end quietly. They chose the latter. The official story was simple, but the truth was far more complicated. Betty's behind-the-scenes maneuvering made the set a battlefield. The beloved series didn't just run its course, it was brought down by the power struggle no one saw coming. In her final interviews, Betty White insisted she was feeling great, upbeat, healthy, and excited for her 100th birthday. But behind the carefully staged photos and cheerful press quotes, the truth was far more fragile. Betty was struggling with memory issues, mobility decline, and isolation. Her longtime assistant, Kristen Miklas, worked tirelessly to preserve the illusion, managing every public appearance like a press release. What the world didn't know was that Betty had suffered a major stroke on Christmas Day, just 6 days before she passed. The news was never released until her death certificate confirmed it. Even after the stroke, she managed to film one last message to fans, dressed up, smiling, and promoting her upcoming birthday celebration. It was a final performance worthy of her legacy. Then came the controversy. Instead of shelving the planned birthday documentary, her team pushed forward. On what would have been her 100th birthday, Betty White, 100 Years Young premiered in theaters. Some called it a touching tribute, others called it exploitation. Either way, it was the perfect reflection of Betty's final act, blending charm, control, and a camera-ready farewell, even from the edge of death. Betty White wasn't just a beloved actress, she was a master architect of her own legacy. Every smile, every soft-spoken line, every adorable misstep was part of a performance decades in the making. Behind the scenes, she wasn't just participating in Hollywood, she was shaping it. With charm as her shield and strategy as her sword, she outlasted rivals and outmaneuvered expectations. She knew how to play the innocent while pulling strings no one could see. From securing royalties and producer credits to flipping casting decisions, Betty wasn't just in the spotlight, she controlled where it pointed. Even in death, she managed her image to perfection, leaving behind only what she wanted us to remember. But one question still lingers: what secrets did she take with her? And what truths does her assistant still protect? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories that Hollywood doesn't want you to hear.